I had always believed that words could move mountains, that if I just spoke honestly, vulnerably, with the fullness of my heart, the person I loved would hear me, really hear me, and feel the truth behind every syllable, every confession, every desperate attempt to hold the pieces of something once beautiful together. And for the longest time, I thought that person was Anna, the woman whose laugh used to echo like sunlight through every dark corner of my soul, the woman I met on a bookshop staircase when I reached for the same poetry collection she did, our fingers brushing, eyes meeting, and the universe taking its first step toward a love I thought would be eternal. And maybe that's why it hurts so much now, because we didn't just stumble into each other's lives, we collided like fate had carefully drawn the path for us, our first date lasting 11 hours, our conversation stretching into 3 a.m. whispers, our promises etched into each other's minds like ink on parchment, and I was sure, absolutely certain, that I had found someone who understood the language of my soul, someone who saw me not as a project, not as someone to be tolerated but cherished. Yet somewhere along the way that version of Anna faded, and I didn't notice until it was too late, until the smiles turned mechanical, the texts lost their warmth, the I love you's sounded rehearsed, and her body, once drawn to mine like gravity, now stiffened when I touched her. And still, I convinced myself it was stress, work, life pressures, the typical wear and tear that long-term relationships endure, because no one tells you how painful it is to admit that love can rot quietly while you're still holding on to its blooming memory. And I kept trying, God, I kept trying. I wrote her letters even though we lived in the same house, I left notes in her coat pocket, I cooked her favorite meals even after working 12 hours, I bought her books with underlined passages I thought described how I felt, I planned a weekend getaway she said she was too tired for, I suggested therapy, communication exercises, anything that would bring her back to me, but nothing worked, and each attempt seemed to drive her further away, like my love was now repellent, like my efforts only reminded her of the burden she felt in staying with me. And yet I never stopped believing in words, in the power of speaking your truth, so one night, I sat her down, heart pounding like a drumbeat of hope and fear, and I gave her everything, poured out years of suppressed pain, memories of when we used to dance barefoot in the kitchen, how I missed the way she used to laugh with her whole body, how I still reached for her in the middle of the night only to find the cold side of the bed, how I wasn't angry, just lost, begging not to be invisible, and as I spoke, her face remained still, unreadable, and when I finished, when I said, I love you and I just want to understand where we lost each other, she looked at me like I was a stranger asking for directions, and with a voice so devoid of emotion it felt like a dagger dipped in frost, she replied, then leave. And it wasn't shouted, wasn't filled with rage. It was cold, calm, final, and in that moment something inside me died, not loudly but quietly, like the last flicker of a candle in an empty room, because I had given her my heart in words, bared my soul without shame, and she handed it back like a receipt for a purchase she regretted. And I didn't scream, didn't cry, I just nodded and walked upstairs, packed a bag with trembling hands, and left the house we once called a home. And as I drove through the sleeping city, every memory played in my mind like a film reel from another lifetime. The time she ran through the rain just to kiss me on the street, the way she used to hum songs in the shower, the night she told me she couldn't imagine life without me, and I wondered how someone could go from making you feel like the center of the universe to treating you like clutter in the corner. And the weeks that followed were a haze of silence, friends calling and me lying about being okay, sleepless nights where I stared at the ceiling wondering what I did wrong, if I loved her too much, too deeply, if my words had become too heavy to carry. And just when I thought I was finding some kind of peace, I saw her post a picture online, laughing at a vineyard with someone new, captioned, "Finally feels right." And that was the moment I realized she had left long before she told me to, that my heart had been speaking to a wall, hoping for an echo. And yet I didn't hate her, I couldn't, because even in her cruelty, a part of me still remembered the girl from the bookshop, the girl who quoted Neruda and cried during sunsets. But I had to let her go, not because she told me to, but because I deserved to be heard, to be held with the same softness I gave, and slowly, painfully, I started to rebuild. Not a new life, but a new understanding of love, one that wasn't built on proving my worth to someone unwilling to see it. And I began writing again, not for her, but for me, pouring my heart into pages that wouldn't flinch, that wouldn't say then leave when I offered them my truth. And with time, I realized the most dangerous thing you can do is hand your heart to someone who no longer has room for it, and the bravest thing you can do is take it back without apology. And now, months later, I've learned that love isn't something you beg for, it's something that meets you in your vulnerability and holds you tighter, not colder. And maybe someday I'll meet someone who doesn't flinch at my honesty, who doesn't run from deep emotions, who sees my words not as burdens but as bridges. But until then I will keep speaking, keep writing, because I know now that my heart isn't too much. It just needs the right hands to hold it.